Okay, so we'll do a dir, in your case, you'll type dir. I type ls on my machine, and I should now have a file called triangle.stl, which I do. And if you want to have a peek inside of it without having to open the whole thing, you can just type more. Okay, and you can see what's in there is what we wanted. Okay, good. Now, to actually open the STL file, go to a website called www.viewstl.com, and then this pulls up a way to view your STL file as a 3D viewer. So click Browse Your Computer, select the file that you just made. Mine's called triangle.stl. Click Open, and you should see a triangle. And of course, the triangle is two-dimensional. By default, it rotates through the window. We've only made one triangle, so that's all it shows. Okay, welcome back. Let's now package some of this stuff up as a function. The reason for this is we're going to be trying to make STL files that have not 4 triangles, not 10 triangles, which maybe you could type in manually, but STL files that have thousands and thousands of triangles. So we want to automate the process, and to automate the process, I'd like to package together the writing of just one triangle to the STL file. So that's this thing that's been highlighted right here. I'd like to package that up into a function, and let's call that function write facet. So I'm going to copy it up to the top of this file into a function called write facet. And oops, I overcopied. I don't want the STL file has to start with defining the name of the solid and then ending with end solid. That only happens once, no matter how many triangles you put into it. So I don't want that to be inside the function. Okay, so here's what I want inside the function. Now, I want to use that function right in between the solid, writing the word solid, and writing the end solid. Has to go in between there on line 25. So if you put it on line 24, things will be out of order. And if you put it on line 27, things will be out of order. Okay, so problem is right now if you try to compile it, and go ahead and try it. Pause the video, try to compile it. You're going to get an error. Okay, the error is that my file is undefined. There's 2 ways you can handle this, or probably more than 2 ways you can handle it, but I'm going to show you one way to handle it that's similar to how we handled some things earlier this semester. Okay, I want the write facet to pass as an input parameter the name of the file stream that we're trying to write to. So I need to give it my file. So what type is my file? My file is of type output file stream. So the write facet takes an input that's of type output file stream, and its name is my file. You don't have to keep the same name there. It could be something else. Like you could call it F or something else. Just if you change the name here, you'd have to change all of these. All of these my files would have to also change. Okay, this will almost work. If you try to compile it now, you'll get a different error. The reason for the problem now is that this function, write facet, is trying to change the value of my file. It's changing its value inside the function. We had this with our race car earlier. In the race car, we wanted to change the value of the acceleration inside the function. You made a function called like move or get move. And your function was going to decide what the acceleration was going to be. So what you needed to do was a variable that you were going to change its value had to come in as an address. So I've to make something, so to make my file not a value of output file stream, but the address of it, I have to put a star here. So I'm going to make that change to everywhere here. And when I pass my file, I have to pass its address. So I put an ampersand down there. Yes, that's a little bit confusing. I think that's probably the most confusing part of this. There's another way you could have done it. You could have made my file a global variable so you didn't have to pass it around from one function to another. But this is good review anyway. All right, so save it, and then compile it, and then run it, and that should work for you. But do it. Make sure it still works. Make sure it still writes all this to a file called triangle.stl. All right.